Welcome to Secret Story. Dear friends, thank you very much for watching. Leave comments, put likes, share with friends and subscribe to the channel. The first day I started my interning gig at Harris, Fitzpatrick and Partners law firm, understandably I was nervous but eager to please. I couldn't believe my luck when I was shown around their luxurious offices by Brad Harris himself, senior partner. Especially when he stopped to introduce me to the woman I'd be working for, his daughter Lexi. Who it turned out was a total babe. As he made the introductions, she shot me an appreciative smile, not even trying to hide the fact she was raking me over from head to toe. Though it's a little embarrassing to admit. Not only because she was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen, but also because she seemed to enjoy what she was seeing, flashing a very naughty smile straight into my eyes, giving me hope that she was attracted to me, too, tall, toned, gorgeous with bright blue eyes, tiny waist, and long shimmering blonde hair. It blew my mind to think I was actually going to be working for someone so insanely that I'd just turned 19, and though I'd excelled at school and had even managed to skip a few grades, I hadn't had a lot of experience with women, but I knew I'd be fantasizing about what it would be like with her, pretty much non-stop. I had to force myself to try and hear what her father was saying as he patiently explained what would be expected of me, as Lexi basically acted as my mentor. Since I was hoping to study law in college, I didn't want to blow an opportunity like this for some real-life hands-on experience. So I figured I'd have to try to ignore how beautiful she was and just do whatever she asked of me, but I noticed pretty quickly that she liked to flirt every chance she got. And that was more than fine by me, since I was enjoying the attention, and the way she made me feel, like a man she desired. More often than not, when she'd talk to me face to face, she'd taunt me with a smile I'd been working with Lexi for about 3 weeks, and learning a lot. She had me involved in most everything she did. Though I was grateful for the exposure to all the legal situations she was involved in. I was also thrilled that she seemed to be interested in me, personally. Working together late one night, preparing for a meeting with a recently departed woman's family the next day, we were going over the last will and testament of the lady who happened to be one of the firm's wealthier clients with massive real estate holdings as well as a good-size investment portfolio, when Lexi's phone pinged with a text. She wrinkled her nose as she read it and I thought I heard her mutter, "Great," and just when I thought. The way she dejectedly tossed her phone aside, still muttering to herself, looking disappointed, I asked, "Everything okay?" She lifted her gaze and narrowed her eyes on me. And I could feel my starting to twitch like crazy, just from the way she was looking me over, like she was sizing me up, maybe even considering something she might enjoy the two of us doing together. I've been told I look older than my age. Tall, at 6'3", broad-shouldered and with a nice firm body, probably since I never miss a morning run, or an evening session with the weights I keep in my bedroom. Girls I knew told me I was cute, with a dimpled smile they seemed to like, and neatly trimmed dark hair they enjoyed, but I had a feeling Lexi would expect a lot more than a few kisses and a little under the sweater action from the type of men she went out with. Finally, she heaved a frustrated sigh and told me what was bothering her. I was hoping I had a date lined up for tonight, but apparently it's been cancelled. Sorry to hear that. I cleared my throat and sat up straight in my seat. But if you want some company, I'd be happy to have dinner with you. She chuckled. Well, Mason, if dinner was all I was after, I could just order a meal into the office. But I can't exactly call out somewhere to get what I'm looking for. So, turns out I was right, but I doubted she'd be interested in hooking up with a guy my age, considering she had to be somewhere in her mid-30s, and probably knew a lot more about having than I did, which was basically nothing. Then my eyebrows shot to my hairline when she eyed me thoughtfully for a moment. Then asked, "Mason, have you ever?" Once my brain started functioning again, after trying to absorb a thought like that, I shook my head telling her I hadn't. Then I couldn't believe it when she smiled coyly and said, "Well, I think it's time you learned how it's done then, don't you? It's always a good place to start, if you want to earn a reputation as being a thoughtful." As I watched her walk around her desk. Holy, I just couldn't stop blinking. I can't believe my boss is right in front of me doing this. Wow, this was like, epic. My heart pounding, my eyes bulging. Holy, I absolutely loved this gig. I'd only just started here a few weeks before. And how cool was that? She grinned. You learn the right way, Mason. Once word gets out, I promise you'll have the ladies lining up to get with you. I eagerly nodded. Give me something to look at, too. No need to tell me twice. And the moment Lexi got her first look at, her eyes shot open. I could hardly believe this was happening. How lucky could a guy get? A while back, when I was still in high school, as we sat in the dark at the show, watching a horror movie together, I got a chance to marry in Casey. But now, thanks to my boss, I was about to discover what was really all about. So I did as she suggested. Once-eyed, I just couldn't get enough. Mason. Are you sure you've never gone before? 'Cause, you're good. She said. She blinked, opened her eyes, and grinned, telling me, oh wow, after a performance like that, I promise you've got a job here for just as long as you want. Because now that I know what you can do, there's no way I'm letting you go. As glad as I was to hear that, still fighting to catch her breath, she told me, I'm clean and I know you've got to be. So give it to me, Mason. That was all I needed to hear. Now that I knew how incredible it felt to get with her like this, I hoped we'd be doing it a lot. Like every chance we got, if I had my way. I looked down at her and started to smile at how wiped out she looked with her arm over her eyes. I decided to make my dream complete. Not only have I been getting hands-on experience in so many aspects of the law, but now I've gotten even more hands-on with my boss Lexi. Funny thing, my dad asked me the other day if I thought I was learning anything working so closely with a top-notch lawyer like Lexi. And though I'd never tell him, I think this had to be the best thing I'd learned so far. The next day, back at work, after going over depositions all morning for an upcoming case, late in the afternoon, I sat and listened as Lexi went over the details of the will with the family who stood to inherit a small fortune in prime real estate, along with some pretty sizable investments from the recently deceased wealthy matriarch of their family. Once she was done, and had patiently answered all of their questions, she stood and shook their hands, gave them her condolences and walked them to the door. But the moment they left, Lexi the dedicated lawyer disappeared, and she started eyeing me with the now familiar telltale stormy look in her eyes. Little did she know, I'd done a little homework. On my coffee break that morning, I sat against the wall in the break room, so no one could see what I was looking at on my phone. So to speak, for our next evening session in her office, since the hallways were now deserted, and it sounded like everyone else had left for the day, I got up and locked the door, keeping my gaze locked on hers as I purposefully strode back to her desk. When I said, on your desk, Lexi, her eyes flared, grinning, obviously delighted. Funny thing, Mason, I was just going to ask if you felt like I'd coerced you into doing anything you didn't want to do. But from the way you're acting tonight, I'd say you're more than fine. I just nodded. Then with no hesitation, she got straight to it, got up on the desk. Delighted to have her just where I wanted her, I took her seat behind the desk, getting right to it. Holy. You are one quick learner, aren't you? Oh, God, Mason, I can't believe it. How old did you say you were? 19, I told, she said, and already you're this good? She looked up and narrowed her eyes on me. Are you sure? Because I can't believe that this is just beginner's luck. How can you possibly be this good at your age? All I know is you really know how, like no one's before. Without even thinking, I swore to her, grinning up at me slyly, her eyes never leaving mine, and that was basically how I spent my summer internship. We'd work hard all day, while I'd keep my eye on the clock, anxious for our evening fun and games to start. That at the end of our workday, if she was standing beside me, often, it would be her that would lock the door and start things. I've got to say, all in all, it had to be the best summer of my life. I learned so much having Lexi as my boss and mentor, that I understood so much more about the different aspects of the law that I made up my mind I wanted to be a lawyer. Of course, I'd be back next summer to work with Lexi again. Seeing as she was the best mentor a guy could ever have. Actually, I decided I'd be coming back faithfully until I finally graduated with my law degree. And I hoped by then, she might even consider seeing me outside of the office. Lexi taught me a number of valuable lessons. I knew, We had to work hard first, which is a work ethic that will always stay with me. Because every time I got with her, was like a brand new fantasy come true. And for a guy who was still only 19, it just didn't get any better than that. Copyright 2024, all rights reserved. No part of this story can be reproduced in any form or by any electronic or mechanical means without written permission from the author. All characters are fictitious, and any similarity to actual people, living or dead, events, or locales is entirely coincidental unless otherwise state. Dear friends, thank you very much for watching. Leave comments, put likes, share with friends and subscribe to the channel. Story 2, welcome to Secret Story. I had my eye on my boyfriend's dad for a while now. He's not the most attractive guy but isn't bad looking either. Fairly average all around. Average height, nice hair, nice face, and kind. I was attracted to him and often fantasized while about being with him secretly. I have always been into taboo, specifically about relationships between people who should not have one. Ever since I started cheating more often, it turned me on to have secret affairs with people close to either my boyfriend or friends, such as his friends or my friends' partners. It added to the naughtiness of it and made the rush that much more thrilling. During the holiday season, we were spending a lot more time with both of our families. My boyfriend's family decided to go take a little road trip up to a cabin they were renting. It was a cozy place secluded up in the mountains where there was skiing and hiking. My BF being an only child meant it was just going to be him, myself, and his parents. We arrived at his parents' home and were welcomed before hopping in their SUV with our bags and were off. We arrived after a long drive and got settled in. The place was as nice as the pictures we looked at. A big living room, a full kitchen, a nice patio leading to the woods, a hot tub outside, and 2 bedrooms. We decided to take the day to go to some local shops, cook dinner, make hot chocolate, and watch movies during the night. It was a nice start and we all decided to go to bed early so we could go skiing in the morning. Now, I'm not much of a skier. Not at all actually, but his family is, and every winter they take a trip to go skiing. I didn't always go because that was not for me, but I wanted to go because of the cabin and had some serious FOMO that we all woke up bright and early, and I am most definitely not a morning person. Anyone who knows me knows that I like to stay up late into the night and sleep in. My boyfriend and his family were the opposite and would be in bed by 10 every night if they could help it. My boyfriend had offered to go on the bunny slopes with me to teach me, but I was too tired to get up just to be cold and struggle on the easiest slopes next to a bunch of kids. I told him I would just stay back and enjoy the cabin, watch some TV, go on my phone, and have my own vacation while they had their fun. He felt bad as it seemed like I was being left out to him, but I assured him I was fine and told him to have fun going on whatever slopes he wanted with his parents. After all, we only had a few days to enjoy the cabin and for them to go skiing, so I felt like this was best for everyone. After some convincing, he agreed and took off, and I stayed behind and rolled back to sleep for a few hours. I awoke and decided to make myself some breakfast. I made some coffee and decided to get in the hot tub. I slipped into the hot tub and sipped my coffee. I was feeling great as I laid back and enjoyed the hot water against the cold air. My mind began to drift as I started fantasizing about his dad again. That I felt a good mix of being safe and vulnerable as I was outside but no one was around. Similar to when I would fool around on a hiking trail either with someone else or by myself, only that has a higher chance of someone appearing. That I began to pick up the intensity. I was so close, and then I heard the sliding door behind me open. "Hey, Natalie," I heard from behind me. It was my boyfriend's dad. That I looking very shocked, I'm sure. Luckily my back was to the sliding door as I was enjoying the view to the outside. "Oh, hi Mr. Smith," I replied. I tried to say it as calmly as I could, but I was already worked up and breathing. "Hi, I hope I didn't startle or disturb you," he replied. "No, not at all, what's up?" I replied, trying to sound as nonchalant as possible. That I thought to myself, oh God, he knows, he wouldn't have said that if he didn't. I was just hoping now he didn't hear me. I aggravated my knee on the slopes. "I was wondering if you knew where Ryan kept his ice pack." I forgot mine, and he said he brought his but I can't find it. Oh yeah, I can help you look for it, I think I saw him pack it, I said as I got up and reached for my towel. Thank you so much, I really appreciate it. He said back. No worries. I replied as I dried myself off in the chilly air AC. I felt it became a bit awkward as I tried to dry myself off as fast as possible. I finished drying off enough and headed inside the house. I walked in first. We got to the bedroom my boyfriend and I were sharing and I went through one of the bags he packed. I found the ice pack and handed it over to him. Here you go, I said as I handed it over. Thank you. I couldn't find that thing, he said as he left to go fill it with ice from the freezer. That I took some time and sat down on the bed and thought about what just happened. I almost just got caught by my boyfriend's dad. I began to go over in my head what could he have seen or heard. That I thought to myself, can you hear things through that glass door? How loud was I? What could he have seen from his angle? I racked my brain trying to think about it before I resorted to saying that I didn't know. That's when I noticed when I changed earlier I left my clothes lying on the floor thinking I had the place to myself. The gray sweats I put on in the morning were next to them. I noticed this was weird. I then left them on the floor, but now it looked like they had been pulled out and moved. I was now pretty sure his dad placed them back. That I knew he checked me out at least once. I began to wonder what he did with them. I left my room and told him I was going back to the hot tub and asked if he wanted to join me. Thank you, he replied, I might join you in a bit, the heat might feel nice for my knee. Sounds good, I chimed back, really hoping he would join me. That I went back to relaxing in the hot tub when sometime later I heard the door open. I turned around and there he was in his bathing suit with a t-shirt on. Hey, we both said as we greeted each other. It's really nice out here, he told me. It is, I'm glad you decided to join me, I said back to him as I smiled. What happened during skiing that aggravated your knee? I asked to break the silence, trying to make conversation. Oh, I have a bad knee, just tweaked it making a turn. That's a shame, I know how much you all were looking forward to skiing. Well, what can you do? Downside of getting old. You're not that old, and you look even younger. You've kept yourself in great shape, I said trying to instigate a little bit of flirting. Thank you. He laughed back. You're keeping yourself in great shape as well. I smiled back, glad that he seemed to be reciprocating the flirting a bit. Do you think you'll be able to get back to skiing this trip? Not sure, we'll see. Well, if not, I guess we'll just have to hang out then, I said smiling. We can find stuff to do and have fun. Yeah, we can have fun. He said as he gave a little smile and laugh. What kinds of things were you planning to do? Oh, just relax, watch some TV, movies, go on my phone, hike around a bit. That sounds nice, you like hiking? Yeah, let me show you some pictures. I grabbed my phone and got back in and sat next to him. I showed him some pictures and made sure to show him some nice ones just looking cute in general. Things were feeling more relaxed between us as we chatted about the places we traveled and hoped to travel. After a bit, he said he was pretty thirsty and was going to get a drink. He began getting up and I stopped him. I can get you a drink, you're injured, I said half jokingly. Besides, a drink sounds good right now. How about I make us some mixed drinks, we are on vacation after all. Sure, thank you, that's very sweet of you. I got up, I made us some drinks as I thought to myself that this was certainly a step towards my fantasy. Getting relaxed in a hot tub and drinking some alcohol. I returned and handed him his drink and sat mine down on the edge of the tub. He thanked me that we had our drinks and continued to chat while enjoying each other's company until we were ready to get out. I asked him if he wanted to put on a movie until the others got back. He agreed and said he'd watch with me after he got a shower. After getting out, I was thinking about what to wear. I only packed comfy clothes as I was planning on lounging most of the time. I decided to put on a big t-shirt and shorts. He was done ahead of me and was sitting on the couch in a t-shirt and sweats. I sat right next to him on the big couch and grabbed a blanket. We decided on what to watch and I asked if he wanted another drink that we watched the movie and I was subtly trying to move myself closer to him that I got my big break when he told me he was getting a bit cold and asked if we could share the blanket. I happily agreed. We started cracking some jokes about the movie. We watched the rest of the movie cuddling, laughing, and having a good time. As it was ending my boyfriend and his mom came back and we naturally got off each other quickly and suddenly as soon as we heard the door. It was a bit of a snap back to reality moment for us. We all decided to go out for dinner and I felt like his dad and I had a much better rapport than we did before. We were able to joke more and be more relaxed around each other. We got home and played some games, had some drinks, and had a great time together. As 10 p.m. was coming around, his entire family decided it was time to go to bed. I told my boyfriend to not wake me and just leave me again so I could stay up a bit and sleep in. I sat on the patio and scrolled my phone and then his mom opened the door and said good night to me. I said good night back and she left. Then his dad came out. Hey Natalie, I just wanted to say good night and thanks for spending the day with me. I enjoyed it after the downer of hurting my knee. You're welcome. I enjoyed our day too. Do you think you're going to be okay to go skiing tomorrow? I asked him, secretly hoping he would say no. Not sure, I'll see in the morning. Good night. Good night, I replied, smiling back at him that I thought to myself, I hope he doesn't go. I stayed up for a bit longer before turning in. Morning came and I was briefly woken up by my boyfriend's alarm which he thankfully quickly shut off. I went back to sleep and woke up naturally a few hours later. I went on my phone as I always do and heard someone moving around in the cabin. That has to be his dad. I put on some shorts, fixed my hair a bit, and walked out. We greeted each other and I found out his knee wasn't feeling great and he decided to stay behind. Bummer. I thought, but not really. He told me he saved me some breakfast and he sat with me as I ate and we talked about what we could do. We decided to do a bit of exploring first as his knee felt okay for walking, get lunch, maybe another hot tub, and finish with a movie again. After I finished eating we got dressed for a bit of a hike, packed our backpacks with water, and headed out. We made pleasant small talk throughout the hike but his knee was feeling aggravated so it got cut a bit short. He was apologetic but I assured him it was no problem and that it just meant we'd have to get in the hot tub sooner. He smiled and told me it sounded good to him. That we got back to the cabin and went to change into our bathing suits. Should we get drinks again? I asked him. It's before lunch, he laughed. But it's vacation. It doesn't count, I laughed back. Okay fine, but not too strong, he said smiling. That I returned with our drinks, got in right next to him. He put his arm back around me and I leaned on his shoulder. He mentioned his knee was still bothering him and I went and put my hand on his knee to massage it. Does this feel good? I asked him. I have no massaging skills. Yeah, that feels nice, he replied as he put his head back. My hand was getting tired and I removed it, still processing the moment we just had. Would you like a massage? He asked me, breaking the silence. Seems only fair I get to return the favor. Sure. I quickly agreed, eager and excited. Where would you like it? My neck and shoulders, I replied as I couldn't say where I really wanted it. That we struggled a bit to figure out how to get situated. I got up and said, here, how about this? Sure, that works, he replied. Either his hands were getting tired or he thought it was going too far as he stopped and said, okay, my hands are getting tired. I'm also getting hungry, want to go get lunch? Sure, I can eat now. We got out and dried ourselves. We made ourselves some sandwiches as we couldn't go out as my boyfriend and his mom took the car. We decided to go watch a movie after, with more drinks of course. We picked out the movie and started watching. I his knee again asking him if he wanted another massage. Sure, that sounds good, he replied. That we continued to drink as I was feeling the alcohol more now, and I think he was too. He smiled back at me and I returned my head to watching the movie. After some time he tapped my shoulders and that was my cue to get up. "What are we doing?" He asked me that. I was silent as we both continued to breathe heavily and stared at each other, still in each other's arms. "We can't. It's wrong," he told me. "I'm sorry," I told him, not knowing what else to say. "No, no, it's not your fault." "Well, not entirely. We can't do this though, it's wrong." "I know," I replied. "We shouldn't, I just felt an attraction." "I did too, but we can't do that. I'm married, and you're dating my son." "Yeah, I know." We got off each other and watched the rest of the movie in silence. He excused himself when it was done, went to his room, and shut the door. My boyfriend and his mom came back, and their energy was the complete opposite of the energy inside the cabin. They were jovial and kept asking us how we were. We all agreed to go out to dinner again, and we picked out a place, got dressed, and left. The vibe at dinner was all off. His dad and I were awkward around each other and not too talkative. I was worried my boyfriend and his mom would pick up on it and ask if something happened, but they were too busy talking about their time skiing. Thankfully we decided to just relax in our own bedrooms after dinner, and I just thought about what happened between my boyfriend's dad and me. Eventually, it was time for them to go to bed, and I went out to the patio to think in peace outside. His mom came out to wish me good night, and I did the same. It was a bit weird to talk with her privately after I just kissed her husband. Then his dad came out and shut the door behind him. "Look, we need to talk about what happened," he said to me. "Okay," I said sheepishly. "We felt an attraction between us. But we can't cross that boundary," he said sternly. "I know, it was a mistake. A one-time thing. It won't happen again." "I know it won't." "How are you feeling?" "Terrible." "Don't be. It wasn't all your fault. I let it happen too." "We can do that," he said with a smile. "Yeah, we can do that," I said, smiling back. Things felt better between us already, even though I knew it would never be the same. "Here, get up," he said to me, walking closer and extending his arms. I got up and hugged him back. "Thanks," I said. "Good night." "Good night." With that he returned inside and went to bed. I stayed out for a bit longer, still getting in my own head, thinking how dumb I was to try to get with his dad. I really upped this time. I went to bed and joined my sleeping boyfriend and eventually fell asleep. I woke up to his alarm, went back to sleep, and awoke a few hours later again. I went on my phone as I usually do when I wake up and heard his dad in the cabin, only this time I wasn't excited, but I felt a small sense of dread. I procrastinated getting out of bed to face his dad until I got really hungry and crawled out, put on pants, and went to face him. "Hey," he greeted me. "Hey. How'd you sleep?" "Fine," I replied, unhappy that we were back at the awkward small-talking phase of our relationship. "That's good. There's breakfast in the fridge." I went to heat up the food and sat down at the table. He sat down on the chair to my right of the round table. I looked up at him slowly as I chewed, taking my gaze that was fixed on my food to his eyes, wondering what he wanted to talk about. "Look, what happened was normal. People get crushes, people get attracted to each other. But you can't act on it sometimes," he told me. "Oh great, a lecture." "Yup," I replied. "I know. Okay. Well, my knee still is bothering me, so I still can't go skiing. But we don't have to hang out today if you don't want to." "We can, I guess." "Okay. It might be good if we can kind of clear the air between us." I finished my meal and decided to get in the hot tub again. Not much else to do around here, I thought. I announced to him I was going in, and he told me he was going to sit this one out. Probably a good idea, I thought to myself. Besides, I was happy to have some time to myself after the awkwardness I'd endured. I went to my room and changed, made myself a drink, and hopped in. I had my drink while thinking about how I could salvage this situation or make it more bearable for us both. After all, I don't want it to be weird in front of my boyfriend and his mom and have them think something happened between us, be it a fight or worse, the truth that I got out. I asked his dad about lunch and we agreed to make food and eat together. We had ramen this time and talked about our favorite ways to prepare it. He told me about his time when he was just starting out and ate ramen frequently and had to spice it up to not get bored of it. I shared my own ramen recipes and stories and how I'd find them online. The mundane conversation helped to break the awkwardness between us. We were able to have a more normal conversation over lunch that we agreed to watch something together after, and I recommended a show I loved that he hadn't seen. I was eager to watch it again and we decided to put it on. He sat on the same place on the couch and I was faced with a difficult decision on where to sit. I think he could tell I was facing a dilemma, but I decided to grab the blanket and throw it on him. I chuckled a bit as he looked surprised. And eventually, he chuckled too. I climbed in the other side and we got comfortable but did not cuddle up this time. He shared his thoughts about the show and cracked some jokes as he was poking fun at it. I got mildly annoyed but found it overall humorous. We started feeling relaxed again together and for that I was relieved. He did not stop cracking jokes about it and pretending to judge me for liking the show. I playfully slapped his arm and told him to shut up while giggling. "Ah, come on," he said with a grin. "Lighten up a bit." We were both laughing as we wrestled a bit. We were panting a bit and made eye contact and our laughter died down that in a moment we weren't laughing anymore but looking into each other's eyes. I went from panting from the playful wrestling to breathing heavily from being turned on. I felt the same electricity between us return, seemingly simultaneously again we leaned in and kissed each other. This time, no one was pulling away. Each time the kiss ended we started a new one. After passionately for some time we pulled away, panting, while staring into each other's eyes. No one spoke for a bit, each judging the other's reaction that I grew disappointed again. "We can't," he said to me in a disappointed tone. "I know," I said, "it's so wrong," he said softly, again between kisses. "It is," I told him, not slowing down our pace at all. "You like that?" "Yes, Daddy." I stayed silent, not knowing what to say or if he was going to start regretting it really hard. I got a little worried, maybe he'd crack and tell his wife out of guilt. "We shouldn't have done that," he told me. "Yeah, but it was really great, wasn't it?" "We can't tell anyone. This is up. Don't worry. Our secret." I assured him as I got up to cuddle next to him. "What time will they be back?" he asked me. "Probably in an hour and a half." I guessed. "We should get cleaned up. Air the place out a bit." I agreed and we opened the windows. We waited for my BF and his mom to get back. They greeted us again in good spirits after their day of skiing. I went up and kissed my BF, feeling naughty doing so that we all decided to go out to eat again and dinner this time was much more relaxed. We were all able to talk to each other comfortably again. I was pleased that his dad was able to carry on like nothing had happened. We all went to our bedrooms after dinner to relax. My BF was showing me pictures he took while out skiing. He asked me what I was doing, as his parents were in the room next door. The next day was our final day at the cabin. I was not too surprised when I woke up and heard his dad in the living room. I eagerly jumped out of bed and fixed myself up a bit. I walked out of my room in my dark gray t-shirt. He was sitting on the couch and looked happy to see me and greeted me with a smile. "Good morning. You look comfortable," he said to me. "Good morning," I said smiling back as I approached him slowly that I walked in front of him and we smiled at each other. "Look, we have to talk about yesterday," he told me. "Okay, what do you want to talk about?" I asked him back. "Yesterday was fun and exciting, but what we did was wrong." "Yeah, but it was a lot of fun though. No one can find out. It would ruin our lives if anyone did." "Don't worry. Our little secret," I assured him. "You're so naughty," he told me, smiling that we decided to go for a hike again as his knee was feeling a bit better. We got to a nice overlook in the mountains. We got back and decided to watch some TV. We didn't end up watching but instead Not here. I told him that. I stood up and grabbed his hands and pulled him as I walked backward towards the bedroom he was sharing with his wife. We cleaned up and waited for my BF and his mom to get home. We spoke and agreed to keep it secret and to tell nobody. We both admitted we had a lot of fun, that we all went out again for dinner and had a great time. We drove back and my BF and I got in his car and went back to my apartment. Story 3, welcome to Secret Story. It was 1 o'clock in the morning, and I found myself sitting alone again on the front steps to our house. My wife Julie is asleep in our bed. It has been over a year since I found out that she was cheating on me with one of her coworkers. I am 46 and Julie is 44. She is a stunning woman at 5 feet 6 inches. She has thick, long brown hair, long legs. We have been married for 25 years, and we have 2 daughters that have moved out. The oldest is married with a 2-year-old beautiful boy. The youngest is shacking up with her psych professor. Both of them know that their mother cheated on me. The oldest is still mad at Julie, and she calls me every evening to comfort me. The youngest has a no big deal attitude and acts like nothing has happened. I still love Julie, but I don't feel like I am in love with her anymore. Because of her, something inside me is irreparably broken. The guy Julie cheated with was only 26. They had an affair for 9 months before one of her friends informed me she was someone else. I spent 2 weeks in jail for beating the shit out of him. When I caught him and my wife, in my bed, I will admit that our life was stale, and we only had about once a month. I was going to divorce Julie, but she cried and pleaded with me to stay and work on our marriage, so here I am again on the steps, and not being able to sleep. Our neighbor Lori pulls up in her driveway. She gets out to get her 5-year-old boy out of the car seat. He is deep asleep, and she is struggling to get him unbuckled. I walk over and unbuckle the strap and pick him up. I carry him to the front porch as Lori opens the front door and lets us in. She leads me to his bedroom, and I gently lay him down. Lori thanks me as I walk back to the spot on my porch steps. Lori comes out a few minutes later, as she forgot her purse in the car. She stands about 5 feet 10 inches and possesses long, straight red hair, making her a beautiful sight. She sees me sitting on the steps and comes over to sit next to me. "Mac, you are a tall, handsome man. Your wife doesn't deserve you," Lori comments. At 6 feet 8 inches tall, I have always been a magnet for women. I just feel so betrayed. How is this marriage going to work? I don't even feel like a man anymore, I answer. Lori and I start meeting regularly on my steps. Sometimes we sit in her kitchen and drink coffee. These meetups always occur after midnight. We quickly become good friends. Lori tells me she hasn't for over a year, man or woman. That surprises me. As time goes on, we start getting more risque with each other. Our conversations sometimes turn to discussions about our past experiences and likes and dislikes. At 26 years old, Lori has tons more experience than I do. I basically have my wife and 3 young ladies before her. Lori grabs my face and says, "I find you extremely attractive, and I have wanted you since the day I met you. I tried to resist my urges out of respect for your marriage. Now it doesn't appear that your marriage is salvageable, so let's go." Lori falls to her knees. I am in heaven. For about an hour, I wake up at 7:15 in the morning. Lori has already waken up and is not in the bedroom. She has gotten her son ready for school and is watching him stand at the bus stop from the kitchen window. She smiles and stares at the window as she increases her pace. I glance over and see Julie at the window, crying but not looking away. I turn my head back towards Lori. We both glance back at the window and watch Julie with her skirt above her hips. She is fortunate that tall hedges conceal her from the street. I walk back to my house to find Julie sitting at the kitchen table. We have a long talk. Julie and I divorced. And she got the house. Lori and I live in her house next door. We had a beautiful wedding in the backyard, with my 2 daughters as bridesmaids. I adopted Lori's son, and we had a daughter of our own a year later. Lori and I continue to have tremendous almost every day, with the sunlight or street light shining through. Occasionally we notice our neighbor, Julie, herself in the bushes. As she watches us, Julie's stud left her about a month after our divorce. Julie and Lori have become friends. We started inviting Julie into our occasionally when we noticed her at our window. Lori is the love of my life, and I am finally happy in marriage.